that might mean something. At one point something really startled our hero and made him stop. Inside the tree was some kind of incomprehensible settlement, as if someone even lived here. This architectural style is completely different from human. Is it really the source of mutation? Because in this city there is no trace of demonic forces. The guy began to look at the architecture that mesmerized him. Suddenly from behind the trees showed huge red eyes. Our hero is not alone. This place really has a powerful evil aura that exerts a terrible pressure, and with the current strength of our hero to go to this place is the same as going to his death. Maybe first it can strengthen his strength and he can reach the highest rank and generally increase his strength, then he can destroy this monster to rid the forest of the evil spirit. But there seems to be absolutely no time for that. Yes, he is not far from the highest level, and the intermediate level stone can help him. But it contains a huge amount of dark energy that is hard to purify. At one point, his little companion began to panic very badly. He again pointed our hero to some place and begged him to take him there. The guy immediately carried out all the orders of the creature. After all, it has much more experience in this world. The little guide led him to a place where a huge scary tree was growing. The creature released a stream of green energy from his finger, and miracles began to happen. The tree began to grow out of nowhere, and spheres of incomprehensible origin began to fly around it. In each of them some event was recorded. In one of the spheres we can see that it was a place that was built by relatives of our comrade. All this was destroyed in one moment. Our hero realized that his comrade wants to get behind the fence to see the places where he used to live. It is impossible to refuse such a cute little creature. Our hero felt the same way. But he didn't want the little guy to be upset, as his village had been destroyed long ago. He took the baby on his back and prepared to jump. A couple of seconds and they were already behind the fence. And our hero was filled with hope that the family was able to escape and not fall into the hands of monsters. But what he saw disappointed him greatly. Dozens of dead bodies breathlessly lay on the earth. Some preserved completely, some were torn to pieces. At the sight of his relatives, the kid couldn't hold back the tears that dripped from his eyes. The boy closed his friend's eyes so that he would no longer look at this nightmarish sight. Because this is the darkness and cruelty of the modern world, which should not be seen by a child. A little boy sat on the grave of his relatives and choked with tears. Our hero realized that his friend needs time to come to terms with everything, but in him appeared a wild desire for revenge. He must go on alone, because all that will happen will be very dangerous for the baby. But he did not think so. He also wanted to go together, and with a furious look jumped on the shoulder of our hero. He wanted to avenge his family. Otherwise, he will never forgive himself. Despite the fact that he is a cute little tree, he already has a steely character, and knows that for everything there must be a reckoning. The friends decided to set out to meet the unknown. They walked through a dilapidated city in search of the very demonic creature that needs to be destroyed. The hero decided to use his fast-traveling superpower to be stealthy. He was undetected and was able to successfully enter the gate. The evil aura has become more dense and extremely strong enough to force the monsters to a higher level. The boys need to investigate the place further to understand the origin of the evil aura. But it seems they've come to visit someone who wasn't expecting them very much. On their way they encountered an altar that was formed by the intersection of black leaves and branches. The evil power gathered on this altar spreads throughout the forest of green moss. Inside is a huge corpse of a black treant, and it seems to be the source of all the power of the dark mutants in the forest. Our hero looked at everything that was happening from behind the wall. It all very much frightened him. Near the corpse stood an unusual-looking priest, who said that the sacrifice is almost finished, and when he takes all the power of the corpse, he will become king of the forest. Our little friend began to glow a bright green color, which means something. It seems the huge creature has begun to come to life, and the priest has just spotted our hero, who is the intruder in the area. He pointed his staff in the direction of the guy, and our hero realized that his end is near. He stood and looked at everything that was happening in bewilderment. Fear stiffened his movements, and it seemed that his life was about to end. This terrible creature, which we call a priest, began to say that the man who killed his subordinates and the man who hinders him came of his own accord to sacrifice himself. Instantly, a bunch of guards rushed at our hero with the goal of bringing him back alive. The guy realized he had very little chance in this battle. Well, he was not going to give up. He took this unequal battle. There were too many creatures and our hero barely had time to sizzle each of them. At some point, the hero realized that he can no longer hold on, and such a crowd of monsters he cannot overcome alone. He decided that the best solution would be to destroy the one who commands this stupid-headed army. Our hero rushed to meet the danger without a drop of doubt. He realized that he is faster and stronger than this monster. Because it is a priest of the Black Triad, by profession he is a magician, and as soon as you get closer he is very easy to kill. Our hero came closer and closer. His body began to shake with fear. The priest swung his staff and was ready to strike the boy. The staff struck the ground with great force, creating an energy so strong that the ground began to crumble beneath it. The guy flew away to a great distance, realizing that this priest has great power and absolutely nothing inferior to the warrior. The priest was ready to destroy the man was only a couple of seconds before the crushing blow. Our hero looked into the face of his death, and drops of sweat flowed down his face. Is it now the end of his life? Cannot cope with his strongest reaper. Now it will be decided. It will be decided in an unequal fight. Our hero clutched the crystal in his hands, realizing that he had no time to think now. He squeezed his hand with all his might, and the crystal burst, shattering into small shards. It seemed that our hero had gained the power to resist this monster. Indeed, his rank had increased thanks to this crystal. He had reached a new level, a level where he could destroy anyone. There was an explosion of tremendous power that seemed to destroy the altar.
Sup, my fellas, don't forget to leave feedback, and enjoy the story. We see a house in the middle of a deserted place in which two men are tied up, one apologizing to the professor for what happened. But it's the man who should be apologizing. It's all because the guy came to save him. The rescue operation would have been successful if the informant hadn't pinned them down. These weren't police people, but well-trained soldiers, and there were as many as 3 times as many of them as the guy was told. They knew their plan and route. It was a trap to catch them from the very beginning. An armed man entered the room and threw their friend, Sergeant Kim, into the room. The guy screamed at him that he was a complete jerk. In response, the armed man said something in another language and hit the guy on the head with the weapon, from which he fell to the floor. These people are just playing with them. The lieutenant was fine, but what about the other fighters? Most likely, they were taken away to another place. A man with a headscarf on his head entered the room. What will happen now? At the same time, a certain guy knocked him out from behind and asked if Lieutenant Kangham Chan was here. Korean. Strange. But he definitely heard this language. The guy is here to save the hostages. The team must take the rest of the finished ones and go after the guy. They made their way through the dark corridor. There were many dead people around. Why couldn't they hear their screams in the cell? There were too many of them here. The man asked the rescuer who he works with and for whom, but he has no right to disclose this. In this mission, he is the only fighter. It cannot be that he himself eliminated all those people. They went out into another corridor and were asked why they couldn't be eliminated quietly, and there were 2 more people in the room. But the savior did not hesitate. He hit a couple of men with great speed and threw a knife at the third, causing him to fall with a wound. This is unimaginable. The guy neutralized 2 unarmed men in an instant. Which division is he from? From now on, they need to increase the pace. The hero will take care of the enemies. The guys do not need to use weapons unnecessarily. He treats them like ballast. The guy killed 2 more. There are many opponents ahead. He will definitely need help. The man took up a weapon. The campaign came time to stop the quiet escape. As a hero can run headlong ahead like this, you need to think about everything. Jumping out from around the corner, he killed 3 more enemies, after which the man was shocked by such abilities, a real monster. But he's too reckless. It doesn't seem like the behavior of one of the experts. They'll wait around the corner for a minute, but for what? Because his partners were stuck, the man did not take into account their pace. But how could he even forget about it? Even if he was in a hurry, these are his close people. It turns out that the young man did not just run, but calculated everything. Black pupils, clumsy sound, but grammatically correct Korean. When the man tried to ask him about his nationality, the time came, they moved on. Passing through the thick grass, he saw the platoon members who were taken to another place. What happened to them? The man saved everyone, told them to wait here, and came back with the lieutenant. Here they disagree with the savior. If they go to the southwest, they will meet bad people again. Everyone thanked the guy. No need. He only followed the order. The man knew it. The boy is a mercenary. But even if it is an order, everyone is grateful to him. The reason is not important. He saved the man's friends and comrades. Shots rang out behind the man's back, and the guy shouted for everyone to bend down. It was a shot from a Martilla. The man hardly listened to anything because of shock. Miami looked normal, but where was she from? The hero managed to recover during this time and start counterattacking. The blindfold fell off. Just an ordinary teenager. 6 months later, our hero is standing in a certain school, introduced by a teacher as a new student. His name is Yu Gijin. Even before that, the class was swept up by a girl and said that she saw an insanely beautiful guy near the office. He just transferred here and he is a high school sitting at the table thought that he was an exchange high school student Appa, right? She never thought that her Appa, who they thought had died in a plane crash with his parents, would return in 10 years. When the guy came back, the elder was very happy because he really is alive. This person, her Appa, the guy looked at the girl and smiled. It turns out that she is Dea. The girl again returned her thoughts to her. Another girl shouted that you can't hear her. She also told her that she would give her sports uniform for physical education. She brought it because, of course, the girl brought it. But if she gives it to this one, she will not be able to go to class herself. Dayan is out of her mind. Does she have the right to answer her like that? The student hit the girl on the head. It's up to her to find out why she's asking such nonsense. That student's friend said that they let the girl relax and she already forgot everything. Does she want to be beaten up and cry in front of everyone? Soon the same guy was in the class. He was introduced as a new student. He had lived abroad for a long time for personal reasons, so the class should help him get used to his new life. All the girls who looked at him fell in love, but the boys, he did not impress at all. The teacher asked to take his place where it would be free, somewhere at the end of the class. A guy in an orange suit, apparently a gym uniform and with unusual hair, asked why everyone was so crazy about him. As for him, he looked rather shabby. The guy got angry. He should respond with a little bullying on the first day. He tripped him, but the guy did not step on it, as they managed, because the student calculated everything perfectly. Who does this disciple think he is? They who are staring at him. Earlier, our hero was told by a man that while he lives in Korea, he should avoid fights at all costs, but he already knew about this. Of course, why get into a fight when his knowledge of the terrain is so small? He's not going to act too hastily and be killed like that amateur, or rather, lieutenant. Our hero is a professional who has lived on the battlefield for more than 10 years. But the man stopped him. He does not tell him this, but asks the guy not to fight because he is worried about the enemy. That was the end of their conversation in class. The uniformed guy was challenging him to that fight, but the guy calmed down and sat down in his seat. The youth sat in the back row since Park Yoon-chan is sitting next to him. He should take care of the new kid, the teacher said. After the lesson, the guy decided to make friends with the new guy. He asked what the guy's name was, and then, probably, that he was surprised when he was tripped. Well, the guy in gym uniform who tried to frame him as Lee Ah-hoon, and the guy behind him is Ju Huk-jin. The newcomer just needs to be careful with these two, maybe turn to the student. If the newcomer has a question, he will help him. The teacher was teaching math. Everyone had to open their textbooks. Our hero was watching the students. Someone was sleeping, someone was writing, someone was talking, someone was playing soccer on the street. Memories of fighting, taking part in battles with other people, and training came flooding back to him. Is he really in a peaceful country now? The guy looked outside the window at the street. After school, he was waiting for a girl. Did he really wait for her? She wondered. This is how the guy wanted to go together, or she has plans? No, but it's not that simple. Since there are no plans, then they will go home together. The girl was confused. It's really awkward, the guy said honestly. He feels the same way. He was only 9 at the time of the accident. He stopped having quite a bit of memory about her and Grandpa. Well, it must have been worse for her, because then she was only 7. The girl, passing by the cafe, noticed there are those who beat her at school. Her girlfriend noticed what Dayan was going to do now. This is the one that her friend had snagged. Who is it next to her? The guy? She conveyed something. Well, that's not true at all. This is her brother. Does she have one? The hero asked if she was a friend to her. But it was a girl from the class. A friend? She's not a friend at all. The girl got angry.